Hello and welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and I have the Paletteful Packs Premiere Pack for July here in front of me. I'm going to open it up and we're going to see what is inside. Sticker! Oh, so cute. I love him. He's a little palette. So cute. Okay, so we got blue and then, oh good, a palette. I was just talking about how I am so bad at cleaning my palettes. I just use them all till they're all dirty and then like have to spend 4 hours cleaning palettes. So it looks like we're gonna have some kind of paint. We have a white plastic palette. Oh, this looks cool. Okay, so this is the ink and markers set. And the first thing is this Liquitex Ink Essentials set. If I can get it. I did it. Proud of myself. So this is Liquitex acrylic ink, and it features 3 fluid professional grade inks. The colors are cadmium yellow light hue, naphtha crimson, and cerulean blue hue, one of my favorite colors. So these are fast drying, water resistant, non-clogging, and permanent. They have super fine pigments that are suspended in a acrylic emulsion that provides rich color, and they're intermixable with all the other Liquitex acrylics and mediums. So it also says these are good for watercolor effects, which is I'm so excited about that. You know I love watercolor. So I work with acrylic inks a lot, so I'm really excited to play with these. Ooh, cute. I love little mini. I just really like minis. So I have a little mini Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press pad here. I love these. They're so cute and small. So this is 100% cotton, acid-free. It delivers great blending results. It's hot press. These are little mini pads, so they're perfect for trying different things out, but I really like to just throw these in my sketch bag, so then I can paint on them and stick them in my sketchbook if I want. They're really useful for traveling, so stoked about that. There is another thing of paper back here. I'm just grabbing all the paper. This is Strathmore mixed media paper. They're 400 series, 184 pound. I actually just used this the other day. Their mixed media paper is wonderful. This is a really fun size. So this is a new pad size and it has 15 sheets in it. And the size is 3 inches by 9 inches. So you could paint little bookmarks even if you wanted. That's really cute. I like that a lot. Okay, oh, and then there's some more surface here. These are watercolor cards from Strathmore. Oh, that's cool. So you can, they're actual cards that you can open, as opposed to, okay. So these are made from their 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. This is a heavyweight paper with excellent surface strength that resists buckling, and it's ideal for watercolor, acrylic, or gouache, which is great because we have some liquid acrylic. So this comes with 10 cards plus envelopes, so you can send them out. Next thing in here is a Princeton Select brush in size 5. I really enjoy these brushes for acrylic inks. I just created an entire acrylic ink piece with pretty much just this, these Princeton brushes. So I know that they work really well with acrylic ink, so I think this is gonna work out fantastically. And the last thing that we have in here are these graphics permanent markers. This is a set of 4. There is gonna be red, blue, green, and black. Look at that art on the front. That's really cool. I like that. So these are permanent markers, alcohol-based ink, low odor, fast drying. These are double tipped. So there's a 1mm fiber tip and then an extra fine 0.5mm plastic tip, and they're waterproof and smudge proof on various types of surfaces. So it's quite cool that they are double-sided. I think that'll be nice to play with. And these will be cool to apply over the inks. So I have quite a few different ideas here, and I'm going to get some of the surfaces and we'll play around and see what happens. Okay, so this is everything we were going to get in the July 2021 Paletteful Premiere Pack. This is the acrylic and ink pack. So we have acrylic inks from Liquitex, the graphics permanent markers, 3 different surfaces, the Stonehenge hot press, the Strathmore mixed media, and the really cool watercolor cards. We've got a brush and the palette and a cute little sticker. So let's play around with all these different supplies and the inks. Let's see how everything goes together. All right, so the first thing that I usually do is make some swatches. So I created this little color palette and I had the yellow, the blue, and the red, but I also mixed together just a basic green and a basic orange in between them and a purple, to create the secondary colors. And that way I could kind of see how the colors mixed together and get an idea as to what my color scheme should be. So that's what I did there. And I made little heart-shaped swatches because I just thought it would be cute. You can see with the colors how they mix together to create certain different types of colors. So because this is a cool blue, the sterling blue is like a cool blue, and then cadmium is a warm red. So the cool blue leans a little more green and the warm red leans a little bit more orange. That's why you get more of a darker, more muted purple. And when you combine other tones like warm blues and warm reds, you get different shades of purple. So this is helpful for you to see like what shades you'll be able to get when you mix things together. I also played around with different ways to mix and blend them, just kind of wanted to see how that would work. And then I went in with the little alcohol markers and played with both the skinny end and the fatter end to see how those would work. I also thought it would be cute to maybe use the markers on top of the acrylic, so I wanted to double check that that would work okay. And so I went in with the markers and added in these cute little designs on top of the hearts as a quick way to test it. So once I was done with playing out the supplies, I started with the teeny tiny little hot press watercolor pad. And I apologize, I missed the very first layer of the little pot, but everything else is here. So for this first one, I created something really simple. I didn't really use too many lines. I focused on shapes. And what I did with this was I would create the little shape of the leaf, and then I would drop in a little bit of water or a little bit of another color, and that's how I'm able to create some of those really cool little textures and blooms in there. Because this is acrylic ink, not watercolor, you can kind of layer lighter colors on top. So that's what I did with that yellow, layering it on over the pot so that it had a little bit more of a pop. And then I went in with those markers and I added in all of these cute little details. But because they're permanent, I could go over with a light wash of the acrylic ink and add in some more highlights. So it's a really simple technique, but it's a really cute way to make a simple little painting. The next way that I decided to use the acrylic inks, because I wanted to show you a variety of different techniques, was I went with the long pad, and I wanted to do kind of like a scene. And when I was looking at the color palette that I had made, I really was drawn towards the oranges and greens. So I decided to use the oranges and greens as a color palette throughout all the paintings that I did, with a highlight of kind of teal. So I had this idea of kind of all of these apartment buildings with all of these plants and the ocean kind of distantly in the background. So I started by sketching it out in the markers. I didn't use any pencil. I just went in and was really free flowing because I knew I was going to paint over it with ink. I just used the red because I thought that it would look really interesting when it peeked through, because the acrylic inks are pretty opaque, but you can water them down. And so mine tend to be a little bit like translucent, I would say. So you can see the lines poking through, especially when you just do one coat. And I thought that would be a really nice touch. So I did that. And then I went in with all of the different colors that I created. And I was really focusing on color palette here and how to make that color palette interesting. And I continue to use like a similar technique as before, where I would lay down a flat color and add in another little color to kind of blend things. But for this specific piece, I wanted to keep things a little bit more flat than the previous piece. And so I used that technique less, but instead I built up a couple more like flat shadows in certain places, because again, this is acrylic ink. You can build up on top of it. So if you make mistakes, you can fix that, which is really, really helpful. I don't know, painting this piece made me happy. Like, I really enjoyed it, and it was a really fun, free-flowing exercise. I tried to do a lot more with just like working intuitively in this video and working with these inks, and it was really enjoyable. So I would definitely encourage you to go in with courage and try just doing the drawing in the markers instead of drawing it in pencil first, and not worrying about lines being wonky or perspective being perfect, because you're just trying to capture a little bit of something that you can maybe see in your brain. Afterwards, I wanted to define certain things a little bit more. So I went in with the markers and I used the skinny end, and I used that to define certain things that were in the foreground, add in certain textures. Again, I layered over some of the Sharpie with the inks, which you can also water down so you can kind of see some of the marker. And that's it. That was this piece. And I think it came out so cute. I really like it. I think it has like, I don't know, such a cool vibe to it, and it makes me happy. So that is another technique that you can use with these acrylic inks. And for my final technique, I did this on the card because it was the watercolor paper and it was the largest. So I thought this would be fun to play around with using them more in a watercolor way with watercolor techniques. And first of all, if you're going to paint on these cards, you probably should tape them down with like a border. I didn't do that because I couldn't find my tape. But when you do that, then the top half of the card kind of wants to curl up a little bit, and then you have the other half underneath, and that's just how watercolor paper works. So yeah, I don't know why I didn't tape it down, so maybe tape it down. But I wanted to create a really golden scene, again, with all of these plants. It's kind of like a trilogy with these pieces. There's like her plant, and then the outside of like her building, and then she's kind of looking out, I feel like they're all related. All the pieces are related. But for this, I really used a very similar technique throughout. I would paint water on the area that I wanted to fill in. Sometimes for the background, I don't think I painted water first. Like for some of them, I would go in with the paint. Some I would do water and then drop the paint in. But essentially, I was painting, filling in the area, and then dropping in water and dropping in other colors, and just letting them mix and blend in a really organic way, letting all of these like cabbages, that's what those little patches are called, cabbages, and those little like bleeds and things like that. I think that's the other, I think bleeds and cabbages mean the same thing, but you know what I'm talking about, I hope. Those like all come in beautifully, and you can really see where it pushes the ink, and I really wanted to play with a lot of texture to create this really kind of soft golden light, and I did that throughout pretty much everything. I was always adding in this texture so it had this uniform kind of very watercolor effect. But the beautiful thing about using acrylic inks over watercolor in a piece like this, especially when you want to play with all of this texture and these blooms, what you can do with acrylic inks that you can't do with watercolor is you can layer back over that texture without disturbing the texture, because they're acrylic inks. Once they're dry. With watercolor, if you painted over some of those like blooms and that texture in the background, that could smudge and bleed out and soften. But with acrylic ink, you may cover it a little bit if you're like too opaque, but you can layer over and add multiple layers of texture. Also, because it's ink, you can fix mess ups. If you mess up, you just have to be quick. Like as you just saw, I went a little too far on the border of the window and it accidentally went into the girl. And so I was really able to quickly put some water on that and like pull it up with some paper towel. You just have to be faster with acrylic inks than you would with watercolor, because they will dry. And once they're dry, like they're not coming up. So, and yeah, similar technique with her, just wet on wet and playing around with bleeding those acrylic inks in and just creating a really, really soft piece. And I really like it. I think I don't know. I think it really has the vibe that I was going for. So I hope that you guys like how it came out as well. This is me doing that layering technique that I kind of talked about. I'm adding in a darker color over the background because I wanted to create a little bit more contrast, add a little bit more warmth and saturation in the background. And I was able to do that. And and add in that second layer without disturbing that beautiful texture that we were able to create, and then even layering more texture over the top because you can drop back in water or other colors into your second layer. So it really just gives you the ability to create a lot of interesting visual texture in your artwork and build up and add different things that you might not be able to normally. I really enjoyed working on this month's box, and it was really enjoyable to try so many different styles. I feel like acrylic ink is just such a versatile medium, so I hope that this video gave you some ideas about different ways to use it. These are the 3 pictures that I made. I hope that you liked them. Thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to get your own Paletteful packs, then click the link in the description box below. Now go on out and make some art.